11:90 a.m. in New York. We're streaming to you across the country on a number of platforms, including Facebook and nationalactionnetwork.net. We are live right here in the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street. Call somebody. Tell them the action is on the air. The Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton is in the house and getting ready to come to you. We're so pleased that you're with us on this Saturday morning, because if you hear the cry of no justice, no peace, you know this is where the action is. Our president and founder is the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. Chairman of our board is the Reverend Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, senior pastor of Grace Baptist Church in Mount Vernon, New York. I'm Attorney Michael Hardy. We'll be with you throughout the broadcast this morning. We are so pleased today to have with us for our Inspirational Word segment the Reverend Dr. Carl Washington. He's the pastor of Mount Zion, of the new Mount Zion Baptist Church here in the village of Harlem. Of course, if it's Saturday, you know our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson, is in the house, along with the Change Choir Ensemble and all of the other that accompany the band here at National Action Network. And if it's Saturday, our dear sister and coordinator of all things here at the House of Justice, and also special liaison to the president, Reverend Al Sharpton, will be here to ask you what's on your mind. That's right. She wants to know what you're thinking about, brothers and sisters, and there is so much going on around the world, around your community, wherever you may be, that there should be something that you're thinking about that you want to share with Katrina Jefferson, with what's on your mind. If you've not had an opportunity to share with her, you can still do so. You can call 877-626-4651 and give her the thoughts, or you can email her at what's on your mind at nationalactionnetwork.net. And of course, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton is in the house and getting ready to come to you. So you want to call somebody, you want to tell them this is where the action is. The Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton is here. He's in the house. He's getting ready to come to you. So you want to make sure that you waken somebody up and tell them, tune in, because the action is on the air. Brothers and sisters, we want to remind you that the NAN Youth Huddle will meet on Monday, January 16th, right after the policy forum here at National Action Network, here at the House of Justice. The Youth Huddle will lead a contingency to march over to the Martin Luther King statue here in Harlem for a vigil. So all of that will happen immediately following the policy forum here on King Day, January 16th at the House of Justice. The Huddle Gala will be January 30th, celebrating 9 years of huddling up for change with special honorees. Spread the word and get into the action with our youngest and brightest dreamers of today and leaders of tomorrow. For more information on the Youth Huddle experience, you can call 877-626-4651 or email nanyouthuddle@gmail.com. There'll be a screening here of Loudmouth here at the House of Justice on Thursday the 19th, January 19th at 6 p.m. right here at the House of Justice. All are welcome. And again, if you want to get information on that, you can call 877-626-4651. We also remind you to tune in every week, Saturday 5 p.m., Sunday 5 p.m., tune in to MSNBC's Politics Nation with Al Sharpton. That's Politics Nation on MSNBC, Saturday 5 p.m., Sunday 5 p.m. with Al Sharpton. You want to make sure that you are tuning in to Politics Nation on MSNBC with Reverend Al Sharpton, Saturday, 5 p.m., Sunday, 5 p.m. Also, Monday, January 16th, is the King Day holiday, and we will be here at the House of Justice from 1:30, beginning at 1:30, for our policy forum on King Day. Now, it starts at 1:30, but those of you that have been here know, as always, if you want to get a seat, you want to make sure that you are here early so that you can get your place and not have to complain that you don't have a seat, because it'll be packed out. And so you want to make sure January 16th, that's this Monday, beginning at 1:30, the King Day Policy Forum will be happening here at National Action Network. And then I just want you to make a very quick note, because on the last Thursday of the month, which is January 26th, Legal Night will be coming back, and it will be completely live. So you want to circle that. We'll give you more information next week, but Legal Night is coming back live on January 26th. That is the last Thursday of the month. Right now, brothers and sisters, Dr. Alvin Ponder has got some additional information for you. He's the Vice President of the New York City chapter.
Thank you, Attorney Hardy. Good morning, brothers and sisters, listeners and viewers, and thank you for tuning in to another Saturday Action Rally with the National Action Network. Here's some information to keep you in the know. President Biden to keynote NAN's MLK breakfast in D.C. President Joe Biden will headline this year's National Action Network Dr. Martin Luther King Day breakfast in Washington, D.C. And it is the third time that President Biden has participated in the annual event to honor individuals in their respective fields whose work has expanded justice and equality in their communities. The King Day breakfast, which will take place on the morning of this coming Monday, January 16th, 2023, at the Mayflower Hotel at Washington, D.C., is co-chaired by Martin Luther King III and Tanya Lombard, the Vice President of Global Public and External Affairs, head of the Multicultural Strategic Initiatives at AT&T. Now, here are the 2023 honorees. For the MLK Day Lifetime of Excellence and Public Policy Award, the Honorable Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Emerita, U.S. House of Representatives. For the MLK Day Lifetime of Excellence and Public Service Award, Mignon Moore, Principal of Dewey Square Group. For the MLK Visionary Award, Andrea Waters King. And for the MLK Labor Leader Award, Ray Curry, President of the United Automobile, Aerospace, and Agricultural Implement Workers of America, UAW. Now, later that afternoon, right here in New York City, we will host our annual public policy forum at our national headquarters here at the House of Justice, located at 106 West 145th Street at the corner of Lenox Avenue, from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. with limited seating on a first-come, first-served basis and in compliance with local COVID-19 guidelines. Local elected officials have participated in the New York City Forum to address the local community on what they will do in the coming year to continue making Dr. King's dream possible, and how your efforts this year will align with his legacy. This year's Martin Luther King Day celebration will commemorate Dr. King's legacy following one of the most historic presidential elections in our lifetime, as we reckon with a new configuration of both our national and state legislatures. If you're not in Washington, D.C., if you're not here in New York City, you can watch it live stream via our website at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Loudmouth, now screaming on Apple TV and Amazon. Ahead of Monday's Dr. Martin Luther King Day holiday Amazon and Apple TV announced that it will start streaming Loudmouth, the life and battles of Al Sharpton on its platform. Join the National Action Network in support of this documentary that chronicles Reverend Sharpton's activism. Consider hosting a watch party for our National 2023 Kickoff Tour. Save the date. National Action Network's 2023 convention will be held at the Sheraton New York Times Square Hotel in New York City from April 12th through 15th. Save the date and visit www.nationalactionnetwork.net daily for registration and schedule updates. Welcome to all of you who have tuned in and joined us also via live stream at www.nationalactionnetwork.net and also live on Facebook at the National Action Network. If this is your first time joining us and or if you're not a member of NAN, we welcome you to NAN and invite you to join us and get to the action today. For more information and to join, you may visit again, that's www.nationalactionnetwork.net or call 877-626-4651 or just text the word NAN, N-A-N, to 59769. Welcome.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ponder. Right now, brothers and sisters, she is right here. It is Katrina Jefferson. She's the special liaison to President Reverend Al Sharpton, also coordinator of all things here at the House of Justice, and she wants to know what's on your mind. Good morning.
Good morning, Attorney Hardy, and good morning to each and every one of you who are here, let's be grammatically correct, live here at the House of Justice. So to those that are watching by way of live streaming on our Facebook page, on our website, and to those listening by way of WLIB 1190 AM, welcome to another weekend's conversation called What's on Your Mind, where you, the people, you, the community, have the opportunity to engage, to dialogue with the National Action Network by emailing us at whatsonyourmind@nationalactionnetwork.net. Again, that email address is whatsonyourmind@nationalactionnetwork.net, or you may call us at 877-626-4651. Now, we know a lot has happened this week across the country, so we're going to hear a few things from audience members, and then I have very exciting emails to read as well. Good morning. Give us your name. Let us know where you are from or what borough you're representing, and tell us what's on your mind.
Good morning. I'm Brenda Ricketts from Yonkers in Westchester County. What's on my mind is continuity. Our people have a never-ending struggle for survival here in America. So I've brought my grandson from Missouri here to the rally today so that he can witness a grassroots civil rights movement in action.
Thank you so much. Yes, continuity certainly is important, especially as we engage with our youth. Good morning. Give us your name. Let us know where you're from and briefly share with us what's on your mind.
Good day, everybody, and God bless everybody. My name is Sister Reverend Word. I'm from heaven, born in Harlem. I'm 71 years old and new, and I'm a National Action Network lifetime member. What's on my mind, of course, is Bible scriptures. What Christ Jesus has shown us is that each and every one of us is blessed. So I respectfully request that you bless us with your prayers whenever you can, and that's all the time. That you bless us with your presence whenever you can, that's sometimes. And you bless us with your persistence whenever necessary, and that's at all times, including voting for democracy. God bless you. A good day.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Give us your name. Let us know where you're from and tell us what's on your mind.
Good morning, Ms. Katrina. My name is Crystal. I am a member. And I'd just like to say that New York City Housing Authority residents are people too. You have retired people, people on welfare, people on SSI, all types of people come out of NYCHA. And guess what? NYCHA claim they need $35 billion, but guess what? HUD gives every NYCHA development tenant participation activity funds. We talking millions of dollars. We go on conferences. We do everything. City council presidents, illegitimate. Resident engagement, illegitimate, because they're not engaging tenants. So anybody here that lives in NYCHA, or if you know somebody in NYCHA, form your tennis association. I'm going to be sitting here all morning if you want to talk to me, because we're being ripped off, and we sitting back and we letting them rob us. Oh, the white man this, the white man that, the Republicans this and that. But what the heck is we doing? Our leadership in NYCHA, they're not even doing their job. Okay? And the ball is in our court as residents. The ball is in our court. We talking millions of dollars that's sitting there in TPA funds. We're not even using them. Each development have their own money. We talking millions of dollars. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. All right, and next I have an email coming from Althea Aaron, who is one of our Women's Auxiliary members. The power of the documentary, and this is in reference to Reverend Al Sharpton's documentary, Loudmouth, which we know premiered on Amazon TV and, Amazon and Apple TV yesterday, January 13th. The power of the documentary. We have now been wowed by the spectacular presentation of the celebrated, award-winning documentary Loudmouth on the life and times of our living legend, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. Now, through the power of the documentary, we are privileged to enjoy a bold reminder about the impact of living a life devoted to public service. A trailblazing woman, much like Reverend Al, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has devoted her entire life to true public service. The lens aimed at her by her daughter allowed us to glimpse into yet another example of what true devotion to a cause, to a principle, really looks like. When I think about Madam Speaker Nancy Pelosi, I'm reminded of the late Queen Elizabeth. With great style and elegance, Mrs. Pelosi accomplished what few others in modern times have by entering the political arena later in life. She broke the proverbial glass ceiling for countless women in politics who, after raising the children, can now step up and step out to say, yes, I can. I learned from her documentary that Mrs. Pelosi was a real mom, a grandmother, a wife, as well as a lady. So often, professional women are confronted with either or choice when it comes to having a family and a career. Often, women feel the need to appear tough, taking on a somewhat masculine demeanor. This remarkable woman in one of the highest seats of power was still able to be present for her family. The lens of her documentary revealed that a tenacious spirit coupled with a seemingly undying quest for righteous leadership led Mrs. Pelosi all the way up the ranks to her final, tremendously successful role as the first woman Speaker of the House until she decided to hand over her gavel. Her leadership, which has inspired so many women, has been touted as one of the most outstanding tenures, male or female, in the history of the Speaker of the House. I hope that the power of her documentary inspires us all to consider sharing with others the truth of our own stories, perhaps as a living legacy to strengthen and empower our children, our families, and our communities. Our elders would say, "Tell it, child." After all, no one can tell our stories quite as effectively and, dare say, honestly as we can. Let's take on the challenge to authentically tell the her stories and his stories, utilizing the powerful tool of the documentary, No Justice, No Peace. And that came from our very own Althea Aaron. And next, we have an email submitted by Amia Thornton called Up You Mighty Race. Dear Reverend Al, I'm a PhD student who starts my Saturday mornings listening to the rally as I have done for many years. As all listeners do, I enjoy the reflections of our nation's leaders and the prolific wisdom of Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. While the Reverend always provides a poignant truth, there was something profoundly special about the January 7th rally. It reminded me of other iconic speeches that I have read or heard because it was an indication of the perilous times we live in. Up, you mighty race, rang like a petition and a prophecy. It reminded me of the reflections of Nelson Mandela in November 2006, who, upon being recognized by Amnesty International with the Ambassador of Conscience Award, stated, "I have been struggling for justice and human rights for long years. I have retired from public life now, but as long as injustice and inequality persist in our world, none of us can truly rest. We must become stronger still." The Reverend's utterance, "Up, you mighty race," reminded me, and no doubt so many, we must become stronger still. With both speeches pointing to the strength we already have, I am encouraged. We are strong despite broken systems, injustice, and strategic offense. Yes, mighty still. So many of us, old and young alike, realize that we are living at a pivotal moment in time, a moment in which we are watching the undoing of all that the black generations before us fought for. With the current state of Congress and all the institution it affects, indeed, we must prove ourselves mighty and stronger still. Best wishes to Nan this new year and every year, and that was submitted by Mia Thornton. And last, yes, that deserves a clap. But she took her time and shared her thoughts with us, the community. And last, just a quick announcement on behalf of our Political Action Committee and the New York City chapter. January is National Mentoring Month. Please join the Political Action Committee and Disabilities Committees every fourth Saturday of the month from 11 to 1 o'clock p.m. This Saturday at 11:30 a.m., they will be meeting to plan our February is Black History Month celebration with the NAN Education Committee, which is scheduled for Saturday, February 4th, immediately following the rally. And they're also going to discuss a bus to the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus in Albany on Saturday, February 18th. For additional information, if you would like to be a part, or you want to be a part of the Political Action Committee or be a part of the Black History Month program, either come today at 11:30 and meet with that committee, or if you're not here, you can call us at 877-626-4651, and we'll connect you to the correct persons. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes this weekend's conversation of What's on Your Mind. Keep in mind, everything that you heard here, yes, everything, were simply the thoughts and the viewpoints of the contributors and do not reflect those of National Action Network directly. And you may call us, you may email us, you may come to the rally and share your thoughts with us 24 hours a day. Email What's on Your Mind at nationalactionnetwork.net. Again, that email address is What's on Your Mind at nationalactionnetwork.net, or you may call us at 877-626-4651. Back to you, attorney.
All right. Thank you, Katrina Jefferson, for What's on Your Mind. Brothers and sisters, our musical directors in the house, Change Choir is in the house, the ensemble is in the house, and our soloist is coming to you right now, Tisha Hunter.
Amen. Come on, everybody, put your hands together this morning and let's give God some praise. Listen, I just want to praise you forever and ever and ever for all you've done for me. Listen. Blessings and glory and honor, they all belong to you. Thank you, Jesus, for blessing me. Come on, sing with me. I just wanna praise you forever, forever and ever, and ever, and ever. Listen, and blessings and glory and honor, they all belong to you. Thank you, Jesus. worship. We were created to praise Him. Blessings and glory and honor, they all belong to you. Blessings and glory. Come on and clap your hands. If you want, you can do your thing. Blessings and glory and honor, they all belong to you. Blessings and glory and honor. When I think about Jesus and all He's done for me,
Thank you, Jesus.
for blessing me, for me. Come on, give Him some praise this morning. Hallelujah.
That is our soloist, Tisha Hunter, part of the Change Choir, and also, of course, all under the direction of our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson. Right now, brothers and sisters, we're going to go in the house. What does that mean? We're going to bring you in the house of National Action Network's House of Justice and the work of the committees. And today, our dear brother Thomas Carswell, who's a member of the Men's Auxiliary, will bring you in the house and tell you about their work right now. Thomas Carswell.
No justice? Say it loud for the Central Park Five, Eric Garner and George Floyd. No justice? My name is Thomas Carswell. I'm the chairman of the Men's Auxiliary Committee. First and foremost, I would like to thank our leader, the Honorable Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton, for affording us the opportunity to be here this morning. Just bear with me. I'll be addressing the in-house segment regarding the Men's Auxiliary Committee. Our mission statement is as follows. With a focus on men and boys, the men of the National Action Network invite you to join the National Action Network Committee. We need your participation to be able to provide a strong male presence to the youth in our larger community. We work in the community to uplift our people so that all may know justice and our children may know peace. We expect all members of National Action Network Men's Auxiliary Committee to provide the example of a successful life in community and family. Committee members are asked to provide services to National Action Network and our larger community. Members commit ourselves to working together to accomplish agreed upon tasks that uplift us all. Contact information to reach the Men's Auxiliary Committee is phone number 877-626-4651, or you may call 212-690-3070. The Men's Auxiliary Committee is presently in the drafting stages of offering to the community a business entrepreneur training seminar, which will consist of how to start your own business, organization and business structure, business financing and grants, business planning and understanding profit and loss statements, effective strategic planning and marketing, and the New York City Small Business Service resources and support. The Men's Auxiliary Committee will be going to the Apollo Theater tomorrow, January the 15th, 2023, to honor and celebrate the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in the civil rights movement of the 60s. The Men's Auxiliary will also honor and visit the Jackie Robinson Museum this year, celebrate the life and birthday of the Godfather of Soul, James Brown, and celebrate the life and birthday of Malcolm X, May the 6th and May the 20th, 2023. We are located at 106 West 145th Street in the village of Harlem, New York, 136. We meet every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. at the House of Justice. And our phone number again is 212-690-3070. Thank you.
That was Thomas Carswell, Men's Auxiliary, New York City chapter. Once again, brothers and sisters, our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson.
Well, you've been running for a long time. Your time is winding up. You better make up your mind. It's getting late in the evening. The sun is going down. You better get it right, Baby, it may be found. I want to know who's on the Lord's side. I want to know who's on the Lord's side. I want to know who's on the Lord's side. I'm on the Lord's
That is our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson, and the Change Ensemble. Brothers and sisters, we are so pleased for our inspirational word today. We have the president of the Empire Baptist Ministers Convention. He's also the pastor of the New Mount Zion Baptist Church here in the great village of Harlem. He is the Reverend Dr. Carl Washington.
We do honor the spirit and presence of God that is in this place on today, to our presider, Attorney Harding, to all of you, my brothers and sisters who are here. All that noise y'all heard were members of New Mount Zion Church. Amen. Amen. Zion, just stand and let them see you. I always poll a house because, amen, I want the folk sitting next to them to know that they are here. Just in case you say something negative about me, and we need Dr. Sharpton to come out here and to quiet y'all down. Amen. But indeed, we're grateful to God to be here on today to share in this space and time. This is not my first time here, nor is it my first time with NAN at a crucial period in the history of NAN, when Dr. Sharpton was locked up in jail for going to Vicus. Yeah. We had, after he came out, he came to the New Mount Zion Church, where we sponsored a breakfast for him to raise funds for NAN. And on that day, we raised $69,000 for NAN. So we didn't just show up, we've been up. And then to see our state assembly leader here in the person of Inez Dickens, who just happens to be a member of the New Mount Zion Church. Let me see if I can inspire y'all in these few minutes that I have. It normally takes me 10 minutes to clear my throat, but let me see if I can inspire y'all in the 10 minutes that I have. In 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, I will heal their sins, I will forgive the land. We're sitting on the weekend where we celebrate the birthday of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. His birthday is actually tomorrow, the 15th, but we will celebrate it on Monday. I have for decades been, Dominique, disturbed because for decades, the world has misled our people to believe that in August 1963, Dr. King gave a speech called, I Have a Dream. That was not the title of that speech. The title of that speech was A Call to Consciousness. Yeah. In other words, what he was saying is, wake up and face reality. In that speech, he talks about a promissory note owed to the black people in this country. You know, it's easier to get caught up in a soundbite than to be awakened to reality. And for years, we have been caught up, Tyrone, in a soundbite. I have a dream. You know, dreams only happen when you're asleep. You can't have a dream awake. They only occur when you are asleep. And for years in our community, unfortunately, because we have championed I have a dream, our communities have been asleep. Consciousness. Consciousness. If my people who are called by my name, consciousness. See, we've got to be conscious of the human plight we still face. Wake up, y'all, to reality. Education, health care, access to capital. Wake up to reality. As a young lady was talking today about NYCHA, when she said what was going on in NYCHA, we got to wake up to reality. We got to be conscious, y'all, of the horrible hurt that hangs over our communities. Drugs and shootings, absence of values, no moral compass, police misconduct, political chicanery will no longer be tolerated when we come out of our dream and respond to the call of consciousness. Look at somebody around you right now and tell them, wake up, wake up, wake up. We've been asleep too long. Consciousness. We have to be conscious, y'all, of the hands that seek to hold us hostage without ever really helping. Oh my God, my brothers and sisters, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, wake up to reality. Barbecues and basketballs and block parties funded by politicians won't suffice anymore. Okay, let me talk to the folk over here, cause see, y'all done been put to sleep. Y'all been put to sleep. You've been put to sleep because they done thrown you a barbecue wagon. They done put some basketballs in the community. And watch this, y'all. And you got a block party going on. Wow, the funds needed to correct the things going on in our communities still never come to our communities. You better wake up to reality. So you got to humble yourself and realize what you don't have. And then start to ask for what you should have. No. You can't ask for what you should have if you don't know what you should have. Don't you know that our people built this country and we still have not received in this country what we ought to receive? I shared with some folks the other day, I'm not going back to Africa until the French go back to France. I'm not going back until the Italians go back to Italy. I'm not going back until the English go back to England. This is my country. Our people paid for this country. They owe us something. Wake up. Wake up to reality. Wake up to reality. The prophet Jeremiah comes to mind at this point in time because Jeremiah tries to help us understand, my brothers and sisters, that what's going on now has happened before. When the people of God turn away from the God who saved them and the God who delivered them, you do know we came out through the civil rights movement without a pistol. You do remember we did not need weapons to get our rights. What we did was we had a will and we had a God. Oh my God, my brothers and sisters, you need to shout right now. I need some folk who got a will and a God. Why don't you shout glory in National Action Network today? Wake up! Wake up to reality. Oh my God, my brothers and my sisters, I'm going to my seat, but I just need my people to wake up. Wake up to the fact, watch this, that our children are being miseducated. Wake up. Wake up to the fact that our children are being undereducated. Wake up to the fact that our seniors are not being taken care of. Wake up. This is a call to consciousness. You've been unconscious too long with I have a dream. One day, my children will be able to walk. No, my children walk there now. And they walk there now because I didn't give them a dream, I gave them a conscience. I gave them a conscience. See, I can talk about what I know about because if you raise your children with a conscience, your children will care for folk in the community who are less fortunate than they are. If you raise your children with a conscience, your children will stop shooting each other in the street. If you raise your children with a conscience, crime will diminish in our communities. God has blessed me. I have a son who graduated from Yale who's here with us today. I've got another son who graduated from Princeton who's here with us today. National Action Network had my daughter here to preach who graduated from Princeton who's here today. Got a son at Duke University getting a PhD in his 30s. A daughter at Baylor in her 30s getting her doctorate in education. Why? Because I gave him a conscience. If I had 5 people in here, you could shout right now. You need to look at the person next to you and say, let's give our children a conscience. Let's let them understand, I don't care how far they wear their pants down. I need to build their minds up. Because if I build their minds up, they'll pull their pants up. A call to consciousness. Huh? Dr. King, we apologize for going to sleep. We apologize for letting white folk tell us you had a dream. You were trying to call us to consciousness. But now we're awake. Let's lift our voices and declare, wake up to reality.
Reverend Dr. Carl Washington, President of the Empire Baptist Ministers Convention and the pastor of the New Mount Zion Baptist Church in the village of Harlem. Right now, brothers and sisters, the Change Choir. the Change Choir under the direction of Minister Tyrone Richardson. Brothers and sisters, I want you to get on your feet right now because I'm going to bring you the soul reacher, the liberation seeker, the people's preacher, the founder and president of the National Action Network, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
No justice. No justice. No justice. No justice. No justice. No justice. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? 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 Fist bump the person next to you. Tell them you love them.
Never give up and never give in. The change will come. Keep faith down within. Troubles and trials won't last always. With God on our side, nothing but pride. My sister, hold on, be strong. A better day is coming and it's coming to come. The change will come. Change will come. Change will come. Starting with you. Your change will come. Your change will come. Starting with you. Your change will come. Your change will come. Never give up and never give in. A change will come. Keep it down within. Troubles and trials won't last always. With God on our side, nothing but pride. Hold on and be strong. A better day is coming and it's coming to come. That change will come. Change will come. Change will come.
Oh, your change
Your change
will come.
will come.
Your change,
Your change is gonna come.
I know it will. Your change
Your change
will come. Your change,
Your change is gonna come.
oh, your change
Your change
will come. Oh, your change,
is gonna come.
oh, change will,
Change will come.
change will.
Change will come.
Throughout the Bible, God uses people that could see things that others could not see or understand. When God told Noah to build an ark, the forecaster didn't know about 40 days of rain. But Noah knew what God told him. And sometimes folk may think you are crazy. But if you could see what God tells you to see and do what God tells you to do, they may laugh at you for a while. They may talk about you in various ways. But if you do what God brought you here to do, weeping may endure for a minute, but he will make you and deliver you to be what you should be. And your change will come.
Your change
Your change
will come.
will come.
Your change,
Your change is gonna come.
do you believe it? Your change will come. Your change,
Change is gonna come.
oh, change will,
Change will come.
oh, change will.
Change will come.
31 years ago, be 32 years in 2 months, we started National Action Network right here in Harlem. And when we came to Harlem from Brooklyn and started in the tradition of Dr. King, there were not many that were in the so-called Harlem establishment that knew what we were going to do or supported us. Inez Dickens, who's here this morning, was one of the few that welcomed us to Harlem. And every King Day, we would have our celebration because we started and put in the incorporation papers that we were going to operate in the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King. Well, 31, almost 32 years later, one of the guys that signed the incorporation papers to be an incorporated National Action Network is the mayor of New York. One of the young people that joined the network when we was about 9 years old is now the minority leader of the House of Representatives, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. And they'll all be here Monday after we get back. We're going Monday morning to Washington to have our annual breakfast. Then we'll be here Monday afternoon. And at the annual breakfast of National Action Network in Washington, the keynote speaker will be the President of the United States. Somewhere I read, if you're faithful over a few things, they're going to write bad stuff about you. They're going to talk about you. Y'all see it in the documentary on you. But if you hold on and faithful over a few things, he'll make you ruler over many, and your change will come.
Change will come. Your change is gonna come. Just hang on in there. Your change will come. Your change is gonna come. Oh, change will come. Oh, change will come. Oh, your change will come. Your change is gonna come. Just hang on in there. Your change will come. Your change is gonna come. Your change will come. Your change is gonna come. Oh, change will come. Oh, change will come. Starting with you. Your change will come. Your change will come.
National Action Network Change Choir, give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. Certainly we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning for the Saturday Action Rally. For you that are here live at the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street in the village of Harlem, and you that are listening live on 1190 WLIB AM in New York, and you that are watching us on various platforms, we're happy to be with you another Saturday to give our report on where the action is. Give a hand to our presider, Attorney Michael Hardy, our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson. Give Brother Chris, our drummer, and our guitar player some. And certainly we are honored this morning to have had as our inspirational speaker, and don't take his presence for granted, one of our giants. He is a giant and honors us with his presence. He's the president of the Empire State Baptist Convention, as well as the pastor of New Mount Zion. And he really is a great man, Dr. Carl Washington. And let me tell you something, Reverend Dr. Washington, I want you to know he's not just talking. He does this stuff. When just last year, a lot of people think that racism is something of the past. But just last year, when a young white supremacist went in a supermarket in Buffalo and shot and killed 10 blacks just for being black, And when the families called us to Buffalo, and National Action Network helped to pay for some of the funerals, and I did 2 of the eulogies. When I got to the rally, the first rally before the funerals, the person standing in the pulpit was our state president, Reverend Dr. Washington. And let me tell you, one of the things that they don't talk about a lot is this kind of rivalry and envy among even leaders and preachers. You know, y'all think only rappers have beefs. Ain't nothing worse than a preacher beef. And one of the things that Reverend Washington, Dr. Washington, did was settle all the preachers down in Buffalo and said, now wait a minute, Al is coming because they asked him to come. You can say and do whatever you want to do. He ain't taking your spotlight. He got his own TV show. He got his own. He had to calm everybody down before they got there. So I got, you know, I'm so used to the infighting, so I braced myself. Let me get ready to get in between the fights. And it was so peaceful. I felt like something was wrong. And I asked one of the pastors, I said, y'all get along? I said, no, Dr. Washington convened us before you got here. So he is a real president. You know, somebody that is called a president. Y'all got presidents here and there of various committees. But presidents preside. Some of y'all got titles and no functions. You know, I meet people, I'm the pastor of nothing. I met a guy the other day, I'm the archbishop of what? Got 3 members and an old truck, but he wants this big title. Carl Washington presides over Empire State. Give him another hand. Let me say by way of announcements, as it's been stated, that we are here on Monday at doors open at 1:30. We're going to start at 2. The governor and the mayor and everybody will be here. But it's Dr. King Day, and we do this every year asking the elected officials to come and say what they are doing in the tradition and spirit of Dr. King towards social policy. Right. This is not, you know, a whole thing about just talking. This is what I'm doing as mayor. This is what I'm doing as governor. This is what I'm doing as a state legislature. Let's welcome Impact TV family watching us all over. Martin Luther King was about social policy. One of the things that is disturbing to me is that the American culture, Dr. Washington, has a way of distorting and perverting holidays. What I mean by that, they will take Christ out of Christmas. I never did figure out how some reindeers and Santa Claus got in the middle of Mary and Joseph in a manger. Even more confusing is how a rabbit got in the way of the resurrection. Come on, and the same thing is happening in terms of Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King Day, first of all, was not a holiday they wanted to give us. We had to march and petition and fight to make it a holiday. Therefore, we ought not take what King was about out of the holiday. Some of y'all going to the mall on the King Day sale. This was not about shopping. This was about justice. This was about fairness. This is about what Carl Washington preached this morning about consciousness. To be going to the mall on King Day shows you don't have a consciousness of King. And you are ridiculing his dream. You know, one of the things that yesterday, Kathy Hughes, who is the largest black broadcaster in the world, owns and founded and owns Urban One with her son Alfred Liggins. She came on my daily radio show and said, one of the distortions is that you have young people that sing, and old folks too, that sing Stevie Wonder's song and don't even know the song was about Dr. King. I'm going to say this slow because some of y'all didn't get this. You have some people every birthday be singing happy birthday to you and don't even know the lyrics was about Dr. King. She said we ought to make everybody understand and go over the lyrics. Stevie Wonder didn't write that song for Boo Boo, your cousin. I mean, think about it. Every birthday party you've been to, they up there pumping happy birthday to. That wasn't about you. It was about, I took the lyrics out and said, you know, it doesn't make much sense. There ought to be a law against anyone who takes offense at a day in your celebration. Because we all know in our minds that there ought to be a time that we can set aside to show how much we love you. And I'm sure you would agree what could fit more perfectly than to have a world party on the day you came to be. I just never understood how a man who died for good could not have a day that would be set aside for his recognition. Happy birthday to you. Then it goes in to the chorus. Y'all on the chorus and not the substance. Next time you had a birthday party and everybody be gearing up with happy birthday, you need to cut the music down and say, do y'all know what this is about? Stevie Wonder and Mrs. Coretta Scott King, who used to come to our conventions every year, whose son would be with us in D.C., they marched and petitioned to get this a holiday. And it is, in my opinion, sinful to take a day off and Dr. King Day when you should be using it as a day on to be in something about social justice and social equality. Many of us are living under prerogatives of what Dr. King did. I'm going to get more on that in a minute. Let me also say by way of announcements, as stated, that I want to thank all of our chapters around the country. The documentary on me, Loudmouth, now yesterday started on Amazon and Apple TV, and it'll be on for indefinitely. So people that didn't get to see it in the movies, some of our chapters had watch night parties last night, or watch parties last night around the country. Reverend Toon, our national field director, had organized, and they've been sending stuff over social media. I want to thank them. So anyone that did not get to see the movie, you can go anytime you want now for the next several months on Amazon or on Apple TV and see Loudmouth, The Life and Battles of Al Sharpton. And it's going on Showtime and BET in February. So you're going to have 4 channels. Now, I heard, this is not a NAN announcement, but since President Dr. Washington talked about his kids, I can talk about mine. That's right. On Wednesday night, my kids have a show coming on Fox Soul called Sharpton Sisters. So y'all got Politics Nation tonight at 5 and tomorrow at 5, and I got Martin Luther King III, all of them on, and Benny Thompson, but there's some new Sharptons on the TV. And that on Wednesday night, and they have a series they're starting called Sharpton Sisters. They interview celebrities' children and relatives and talk about different things. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but since Carl Washington got to bragging, I figured it was fair at 9 p.m. on Fox Soul on Wednesday night. Now, and I want y'all to know when y'all heard Dr. Washington tuning up, is because when his daughter, who's here this morning, came here and preached, I told him, you know, your daughter shut it down. He said, yeah, well, I trained her. I said, no. She went past your training. She tore this place up. So I think I bragged so that he had to let y'all know who the daddy was this morning. Give them a big hand and our family from New Mount Zion. I want us also, as we go into King Day weekend, let us, our case that we are conscious and we're on is the Bernard Placid case in Englewood, New Jersey. This police killing on any of the Placids here this morning. They're here every week. And we are dealing with the wrongful conviction and incarceration of Reverend Keith Gatson and Nolan Farrell. I'm going to call their name every week till we get some justice. And I understand there's been some meetings on one of the cases, but I don't want a meeting. I want some justice for Reverend Farrell and for Nolan Farrell and for Reverend Gatson. Now, let me make this appeal to us. We need to stop letting others give us their interpretation of what is going on and not dealing with the reality. That's one of the reasons, one of the keys in our organization has always been to change the public discussion and to change the narrative, because we get the wrong narrative, then we come to the wrong conclusion. This whole bogus issue of they found some classified stuff in Biden's garage or Biden's office that they turned in. There is a difference. Now, I'm going to break this down on Politics Nation this evening. There's a difference in you finding something that shouldn't be there and you turning it in, and in somebody finding something you were hiding. And then you only give them half of it, and they got to raid your house to get the rest, and then find out you had some of it in storage up the block. A crime is based on intent. Yes, sir. If you hiding classified stuff, and even when it is subpoenaed, you don't give it all up, that means you intended to misuse classified stuff. If you find there's some stuff you wasn't supposed to have and you turn it in, the least you got to do is say it was not intentional, because you turned it in. That's like if you get a parking ticket and put it in your drawer and forget you put it in the drawer and the date expires, and then when you see a date, you go and make it right. That meant you intended to make it right. That's right. Rather than somebody get a parking ticket and never make it right, and then they stop you again and then make you deal with what you ignored. So don't let them compare what Trump did with what Biden did. And all of this craziness that they got now going on if there ever was a time that we're going to have to be vigilant, it's going to be the next year and a half. Because with the Republicans taking the House, they're going to try to block everything that we got through, from inflation reduction to infrastructure, all of that, because earmarked in that has been what we wanted for the black community. That's right. When we dealt with the infrastructure bill, when we dealt with inflation, we were on the phones with Nancy Pelosi. That's why we're honoring her Monday. And she made sure that they put in there that certain amount had to go in our community. When they deal in Albany, because we have an Andrea Stewart Cousins as the majority leader, because we have a Carl Hasty as a speaker, because Inez is there, there's certain things in the state that they make sure we're covered with. That's right. When you take that out and you have a Republican or right-wing majority, they will take all of the resources and send it to their part of the state or the city. That's why all of these that run around talking about voting don't matter and that who's in office don't matter, they are helping the opposition to our community. I mean, you know, Inez and I know some folk in Harlem talk about they revolutionaries, don't believe in the system. And then they come to her office because they all got their old, you know, super duper militant uniform on. I need some help. What you need some help for? They messing with my Social Security card. Well, I thought you don't believe in the system. I never heard no revolutionaries on Social Security. Bang, bang, overthrow the government folk, but you want your Medicaid. I went to one elected official's office a few years ago. I won't call no name, at least not on the radio and TV. And one of the guys that was against voting was on the staff of the elected official. I couldn't believe it. I thought he was there to march. He was there as one of the staff members. State payrolled revolutionaries. Talking smack. Now, one of the things that we've got to do is restore what needs to be the agenda of some of the elected officials. Right. But let's be clear, they're going to have whatever they have done. If we don't have our representation in there, we will get nothing. And this is our money. When we go to Albany, we go to City Hall, we go to Washington, we're not asking for a favor. If we got to pay taxes, you're not going to take our tax dollar and protect the environment in other communities, but don't protect it in our community. That's right. We're not begging, we're paying. That's one of the distortions of the King movement. Was the King movement was saying, if we got to pay $1 to get on the bus, we're going to sit where everybody else pay $1. And it has been that distortion. So I want us to be real clear about why our voting power becomes important. I say all the time, voting does not solve everything. But what it does solve, we need to have that. I remember when I was a little boy, and I used to get on the train from Brooklyn, ride up to Harlem, and run around behind Adam Clayton Powell. I just idolized Adam Clayton Powell. And in fact, Inez's father, when in 19, you know, a lot of this history we teach at Huddle, there has never been a black leader that did not have to face the backlash of the system. Say that slow. There has never been one that really led in our behalf that didn't have a backlash from the system. Adam Clayton Powell was indicted for income tax evasion and then sued for calling a black woman a bag woman because she was the bag woman. These kids out here now, hip-hop is talking about I'm trying to get the bag. Well, that ain't new. They used to give the woman the bag to pay off the cops to look the other way selling numbers. And Adam called her name. She sued him. She won the defamation case. He's under indictment, sued for calling a bag woman a bag woman. Why couldn't he win the case? Because he couldn't get none of the police to testify in court that, in fact, she paid them off. And for 18 months, he couldn't come to New York without being arrested because he was in contempt of court. This is Adam Clayton Powell now. Tammany Hall, which ran the county politics, said, we're going to dump Powell. We got him now. Why did they want Adam? Adam had fought for all of our rights. Adam was the one that was the architect of the Harlem bus boycott. They would not let blacks drive buses in New York. Adam said, if you don't let us drive buses, we're not going to ride the buses. Called the Harlem bus boycott, and they hired the first 2 black drivers in the history of the city of New York because of the Harlem bus boycott. This was in the 1940s. They wouldn't hire blacks at Con Edison. Adam stood in the pulpit of Abbott City and said, I want everybody to pay your light bill with pennies. I'm telling you the history. And they all went and got pennies and went to Con Ed and paid their light bill. And the Con Ed people said, Reverend Powell, you got to stop this. He said, well, hire more tellers that can count the pennies. That's how the first blacks were hired in Con Ed. I ain't talking about down south. I'm talking about right here in New York. So all of that agitating is why people in Harlem sent Adam to the city council and then sent him to the Congress. So they thought they got him. Defamation case, couldn't come to town, indicted. Tammany Hall said, we're going to run somebody against him and take him out. They ran a guy named Claude Brown. And Adam Clayton Powell called him Look Down Brown. The only district leader that stood with Adam against the county was her father, Lloyd Dickens. I'm telling you the history. Y'all be walking up around here misquoting stuff. I'm talking about the history right here. When Dr. King and them started the Montgomery boycott in '55, they studied the Harlem boycott out of Harlem. Adam Clayton Powell wrote a book in 1944 called Marching Blacks. 44. In 1944, blacks were still calling themselves colored. That's right. And the more sophisticated called themselves Negroes. Adam was calling us black then. You must know your history to know where you are in the scheme of things. Right. And to know there is always a plan to counter you. That is why I refuse to let them rob us of Dr. King on King Day, a holiday they never intended to give us. Now, when Dr. King's father, Martin Luther King Sr., major preacher in Atlanta, his wife, Alberta King, who was Dr. King's mother, was the daughter of the presiding elder in Georgia. Now, what Dr. King's sister told me one day that I never knew, she said, you have to understand, Al, when we were growing up, Martin and I, and A.D., they had one brother. She said, we were growing up during starch segregation time. King was born in 1929. She said, which meant that when luminaries and dignitaries would come to Atlanta, they couldn't stay in the nice hotels. So they would stay at Daddy's house because we had the big parsonage that was owned by Ebenezer Baptist Church, which means we come downstairs any morning for breakfast, and James Weldon Johnson might be at the table. Langston, you anybody of stature, because they stayed in the guest room at the preacher's house. Which means that Dr. King grew up with a sense of black excellence because all of blacks that achieved something stayed at his house. As a little boy, he grew up among excellence. Father sent him to Morehouse. On from there to Crozet Theological Seminary at a time that blacks were not going to seminary. Went on from there to Boston University, an Ivy League school, in the 40s and 50s. Met a young black woman from Marion, Alabama, who also believed in excellence. She was studying to be a concerto singer named Coretta. Dr. King graduated from Morehouse, graduated from Boston University, married a concerto singer. And with all that education, watch this now, with all that culture, with all that self-respect, they decided not to live a bourgeois life up in New England. They decided to go to Montgomery, Alabama, and pastor a church in the Bible Belt. First thing some of y'all do, minute you get an honorary degree in the mail, get a mail-in degree and start calling yourself Dr. So-and-so and try to run away from who you are. Well-informed and well-educated people run to who they are, not run from who they are. Dr. King took a church in Montgomery, pastored a church down in the heart. Montgomery now was and is capital Alabama. Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. When he got there, lawyer named Fred Gray was organizing against segregation. They had Claudette Colvin had violated the seating order in the buses. People in Montgomery didn't want to rally around Claudette Colvin. I wrote this in my last book, Righteous Troublemakers. They didn't want to rally around her because they said she was too dark and she had a baby out of wedlock. But then when they got ready to test it again, the secretary of the local NAACP chapter, Rosa Parks, who was light-skinned, they say down then there was light-skinned did. Married, well-respected. When they arrested her, town went in an uproar, and everybody was arguing about what to do. They formed the Ministers Improvement Association, Montgomery Improvement Association, MIA. It was Dr. Ralph Abernathy, who had a spirit like Carl Washington, that got the preachers together and said, rather than us fight about this young guy just got to town, well-educated, let him be the president. And it was Ralph Abernathy that pushed Dr. King up. Little did they know that God had planted the seeds of royalty in him. That's right. And sometimes you may not have been everybody's choice, but if God chooses you, you'll rise to your occasion. That's why God was telling me the other day, I was talking to a young man, he was saying, I watched a movie on you, Reverend Al. How did you find your calling? I said, I didn't find my calling. Your calling finds you. That's the problem you got. Y'all run around looking for a calling. You calling yourself. That's why it ain't worked. You go and eat some bad food, get some gas and say, oh, the spirit is moving. No, you got gas. Don't mistake your gas for the spirit. There's a difference between passing a prophecy and passing gas. Dr. King rose to the occasion, studied marching blacks from Adam Clayton Powell. One of their friends was Leon Sullivan, who had done a similar boycott in Philadelphia. How did Leon Sullivan know what to do? He'd been an associate pastor to Adam Clayton Powell at Abyssinia. That's right. A lot of y'all didn't know that. Leon Sullivan used to be at Abyssinia as an associate pastor to Adam Powell. This is all one thread. If you study your own folk, your answer is in your history. Come on. Come on. They started boycotting. Said it's better to walk in dignity than ride in shame. You arrested Rosa Parks for sitting in the front of the bus. You arrested Claudette Colbert, so we won't ride at all. Now, some of the white supremacists and some of the blacks that called themselves more militant said it was a movement around integration. It was never a movement around integration. It was a movement around desegregation. There is a difference. They did not boycott and march because they wanted to go to the toilet with white folks. They didn't march and go to jail because they wanted to eat in white restaurants. They were saying if we're going to pay the bus fare, we're going to sit wherever we want. If we're going to pay for your police to protect your restaurants and pay for the sanitation to pick up your garbage, we're going to eat wherever we want. Dr. King never said the stuff they try to have him say. Yes, sir. And they walked for a year. And when they settled the boycott, Dr. King said, we're not going to stop till they change the state law. And they changed the law in Alabama and went on to change the national law. They indicted Dr. King. They'll write this in the bios. And accused him of stealing the money from the Montgomery Improvement Association. Indicted him on income tax evasion. Dragged him up the stairs at the Alabama court and charged him as a thief. If you fight them, they're going to fight you. By me growing up in the movement, I knew they were going to fight me because everybody that I studied, they're going to drag you through court. Right. And the hurting part is your people going to believe the lies they told. Come on. Come on. But why did they fight you? Not only to punish you, they fight you because they want to break down the people's faith in you. So to kill the message, you got to kill the message. And we get this distorted, perverted self-hate. Why Carl Washington got clothes that he can wear? Why he can send his kids to school? Why Sharpton on TV? Rather than be proud that we break through. Right. Right. We have to defend success because we've been taught in a slave mentality. So anybody that gets above a slave status becomes a suspect to people with a slave mentality. You ain't supposed to have nothing. And if you got something, you must be crooked. That's a slave mentality. Why the preacher got a good car? Why anybody got a good car? I tell a story all the time. Rachel Nordlinger, who's become a media mogul on her, said when she first come here, she was working out a cubicle in Terry Williams' agency. Now she is a partner in one of the biggest firms media firms in the country. Stand up, Rachel. She's a partner. I'm glad y'all clapped because I'm going to raise the offering in a little while when the partners are. I remember Rachel arranged this guy, Dr. Washington, to do a profile on me. And he run around me all week. Went to my radio show, went to my TV show, came here to Nan, read one of my books, and did some other stuff. I went to college. 5 things he did. At the end of the week, he said, Reverend Al, I got to ask you a few tough questions. I said, okay. He said, people want to know how you make a living. I said, pardon me? He said, how do you make a living? Like he had got me in some catch you. I said, wait a minute. You went to my TV show. That's one job. You went to my radio show. That's another job. You read one of my books, which is a third job. And you ask me how I made a living? Are you crazy? I ain't doing no public service announcements. That's a job. You wouldn't ask anybody else host a TV show how they make a living, but the psychology of it is that what we doing supposed to be not the same as others. And supposed to be crooked rather than progress. And that's why I say we've got to keep interpreting our history to our children because they will distort them. Yes. That's why I like what Carl Washington said about if you lift the consciousness, you ain't got to tell them to pull up their pants, they'll pull them up. But if you got a down consciousness, your pants and everything else gonna come down. The way you look reflects how you think. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I remember I was arguing with some rappers one night, had a meeting, they got mad with me about I come out against using the N word and the H word and the B word, and we all have used them. And I said about 20 years ago, I said, we got to stop this. Oh, Reverend Al, we don't agree with that. We got to rap, we keep it real. We just talk about what we see. You got to understand, our rap is what we see. I said, but music is not only about what you see. Music is also about what you can't see and drive people to make a reality like he preached. I get up every morning, go to the bathroom, hair all over my head, sleep around my eyes, slobber around my mouth, teeth not brushed. I don't walk outside talking about I'm going to keep it real. Mirrors are not to reflect what you see. Mirrors are to correct what you see. We must correct ourselves and then correct society. So when I started preaching Church of God in Christ, I was a little boy and went on at 12 wanting to be in civil rights. And my mother brought me, NAN members here know the story, brought me to Reverend William Jones and Jesse Jackson. And I started in activism, and I wanted to be like Jesse. I didn't want a pastor. Jesse never pastored. I wanted to be available everywhere. Everybody got different ministries. And as I learned this thing, one of the reasons why Nan says it was in the principles of Dr. King, everybody is not in the same tactic and same tradition. Reverend Malcolm Bird that's going to be working with us here this morning, standing pastor of Mother AME Zion. He and I were talking about it the other week. There was not one tribe in Africa. There was different tribes. We ain't got to be the same thing, but we all black. We ain't the same tribe in Africa, but they all African. Telling y'all last week, Africa is a continent, not a country. I won't go to Africa one day. Where in Africa? The tradition of Dr. King was to use nonviolent civil disobedience and civil rights to get legislation and policy change. Now, that may not be the tactic of somebody else, but that's what we did, and that's what we do, and NAN is an extension of that. Well, I ain't into nonviolence. Good. That's what you believe. But I believe that the way we got the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act and open housing was like Carl Washington preached today, without a pistol. It was the nonviolent civil rights movement that changed laws. People were violent, burned down cities, didn't get nothing but fire hydrants. That's right. They give you some hush money. What's right, 65, rebellions in 68, all of that did not lead to legislation. It led to give them some grants, give the kids a summer job, cut it off in 2 or 3 years, just shut them up. What Dr. King and them did was change the laws. And that's what NAN is about. That's why we said that in the middle of Eric Garner's fight here in New York, her son choked to death. We didn't stop till we worked with Gwen to change the law. There is an Eric Garner state chokehold law. Every policeman now that gets mad, know if he used the chokehold, he going to jail. Because there's a state law called she fought. I met this week with 2 of the New Jersey 4. Many of you remember that, 98, when they shot them boys on the New Jersey Turnpike. Johnny Cochran was a lawyer. NAN was the organization. That was the first racial profiling laws against state troopers in New Jersey. We about changing the laws. Yes, sir. All of this woofing and talking and getting up there cussing folk out. If that's what you do, that's what you do. But that don't change nothing. Bunch of activists online, but never get online in the street, geared toward changing legislation, sitting up talking provocative talk to get you likes on social media, but can't get a like in the state legislature and a like in the Congress. I don't care how many likes you got on social media. I need some votes in the state house and some votes in the Congress. That's why we built a movement in the spirit of Dr. King. And it's church-based, unapologetic. Dr. King's organization, when they started it after the Montgomery boycott, they went into 1957 to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Why'd they go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana? Again, history. There was a man in Baton Rouge, Reverend T.J. Jemison, who had done a boycott in Baton Rouge. And they started their organization there. What you gonna call it, Dr. King? Called it the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. He didn't apologize for being that. That's why on Saturday mornings, we've been having this Saturday Action Rally here 31 and a half years. But we have gospel singing, and we have an inspirational message, because we are a church-based movement. Now, anybody can join. You can be an atheist, you can be anything else. But don't ask us to apologize for who we are. because we fight from a moral commitment. And we're not afraid because our faith casts out all fear. That's right. We don't care about what big title you got. Because in the end, God promised us if you stand up, he'd hold you up. That's right. I remember one night I was doing something on the road with Martin Luther King III. And I remember as we were about to land in a certain city, it came to me, we both sitting up in the plane, and I said, you know something, Martin, this is going to sound strange to you, but you know your father won. He said, well, what do you mean, Al? I said, well, you remember your mother showed us them pictures of how they dragged him up them stairs at the Alabama courthouse and indicted him for income tax and stealing the money from the charity. He said, yeah. I said, do you realize that the third Monday in every year that courthouse is closed to celebrate your daddy's birthday? Judge can't come to work. Clerks can't sign in. Correction officers got to stay home. To celebrate the birthday of a man they tried to call a crook, where they tried to call him names. Those reporters get a day off, celebrate a birthday of a young black boy, grew up in segregated Georgia. When you go, I'm on my way to Washington tonight after the show. Be down there tomorrow. I'm doing Meet the Press in the morning from Washington. When you get ready to land in Washington, the plane flies over the Potomac River. You look one side, there's a Washington Monument. Other side, there's the Jefferson Memorial. And the other side, they got the Lincoln Memorial. And then they got a monument now for a black preacher that never held an office called Martin Luther King. He promised that he'd make your enemies your footstool, that he'd prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. That's why I like that story about how Joseph's brothers wanted to get rid of him. Joseph had a habit of dreaming and waking up like Carl preached and telling Daddy about his dream, and they resented it. Some of y'all sitting here today, some of y'all watching me on TV, you dream things. Dreaming is all right if you're going to get up and make them come true. That's right. Dreaming without consciousness is just entertainment at night. You just binging on your ignorance. But dreamers that make stuff come true upset people. And Joseph's brothers got mad and plotted against him. And they were somewhere and they saw Joseph come and say, here comes the dreamer. Let's kill him and see what happens to his dreams. One of the brothers had a temporary sense of morality. Said, well, let's not kill him. Let's just hurt him. Let's kill an animal and dip the blood on this coat he got. And go back and tell Daddy that a wild animal got him. And they killed the animal and threw Joseph the dreamer in a pit. But I come to tell you, 2023, be careful how you treat dreamers. Because the pit you throwing them in may be what God needed to get them alone. Sometimes God uses your isolation for your elevation. Sometimes when they put you away, it's God setting you aside. And if God sets you aside, he'll take you out the pit and make those that threw you in the pit have to recognize that if God be for you, if God be for you, if God be for you, it's more than the whole world against you. On Monday, the whole nation, the most powerful nation in the world, has got to close down. Presidents has got to come to our organization to celebrate a man who didn't stop dreaming, but got up and changed this whole nation. Don't you stop dreaming. Don't you stop marching. Don't you stop believing. If you let God guide you, he'll make a way. Young man said to me, and I'll let you go. Young man said to me, Reverend Al, I heard Dr. King talking about in a speech I was listening to, he been to the mountaintop. I just can't get to the mountaintop. He said, I try everything and it don't work for me. He said, mountaintop don't work for me. I said, well, I serve a God that ain't only on the mountaintop. I grew up rough. I grew up in Brownsville on welfare, food stamps. I was in the valley. But I used to go by the church and they'd sing, he's the lily of the valley. He ain't just up on the top of the mountain. He's the lily of the valley, the bright morning star. I'm glad I caught me a lily in the valley. He walks with me. He talks with me. He tells me that I'm his own. He been food when I was hungry, water when I was thirsty. He's my rock, my sword and shield, my will, my will, my will in the lily of the will. He's the lily of the valley, bright and morning star. He woke me up this morning, started me on my way. Happy birthday, Martin. Happy birthday, Martin. Happy birthday, Martin. We'll rise, never to fall again. Up, you mighty race. Up, you mighty race. Up, you mighty race. Yes. 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 Dr. King leaned over a balcony of a black-owned hotel in Memphis, Tennessee. Lorraine Motel is the name of the facility. And he looked at Ben Branch. Ben Branch was a saxophone player, had a group, and they would play every Saturday. Like we do Saturday mornings, he'd play it every Saturday morning at Bread Basket in Chicago, Reverend Jackson, where I got the Saturday morning rallies from. And he looked down, Dr. King, and said, Ben, I want you to play at the rally tonight. Precious Lord, take my hand. Lead me on. Let me stand. He said, I want you to play it real pretty. And they said as Dr. King was leaning back up off saying, play Precious Lord for me, Ben, the gun went off and bullet hit him in the head. The last thing Dr. King said is that he wanted Ben to play Precious Lord. The man shot him and killed him, and Abernathy ran out. Jesse ran up the steps. But Precious Lord, take my hand. That was what gave Dr. King the strength to tear down the color curtain in the United States. In memory of Dr. King, Precious Lord, take my hand. They done took over the Congress, but take my hand. They playing games in Washington, but take my hand. They trying to take affirmative action back in the Supreme Court, but take my hand, because you brought me from the outhouse to the White House. You brought me from slavery to being president of the United States. Take my hand and lead me on.
Oh, Lord, precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired. I am weak. Jesus. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me on when my way grows dreary.
Yeah.
Precious Lord, linger near, my Lord, when my life, oh my, is almost gone. This is what I tell them. Hear my cry. Hear my call. Precious Lord, help me lest I fall. My God, take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home. Come on, give him a praise.
Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Everybody's singing. Everybody sing. Everybody singing. One more time, y'all. Everybody's singing. I'm open the doors of the movement. There may be someone here today, hears us on the radio, watches some of our activity on television, but never joined National Action Network. There's not a better time to join than on Martin Luther King weekend, to be a member of a King-based organization. If you're here today and never joined, all I want you to do is come down to me and let us sign you up this morning on MLK weekend to be a member of National Action Network. Come on, everybody singing. Everybody sing. Everybody singing. Come on, everybody now. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. We want justice. We want justice. We want justice. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. Yeah. All right. All right. We're going to raise our offering and let you go. I say 9 to 11 on the air. We'll be about 11:10. I'm going to raise our offering and let you go. I want everybody now. We're going to start in New York at 2 o'clock on Monday. Don't get here at 5 to 2 looking for your seat. Telling you now, I'm going to do what we got to do in Washington with the president, and then we're flying right back. Dr. Richardson and all of us will be here on Monday. I need to raise our offering. I need everybody to give what they can. Kitty, you slept through the message this morning. Usually Kitty helped me preach. I didn't hear, my backup was asleep this morning. I hit my best note, wasn't no Kitty there for me. I had to do it by myself today. All right, I need about 10 people, about 10 that'll give $100 or more to come quickly. Guardians, $100. Welcome Committee, $100. Rachel Nordlinger, $100. Winston Gilchrist, $100. President, Empire State Convention, Dr. Carl Washington.